Hi folks, this is Karim Rao from IT Visualizer channel. We will continue our lab, the Red Alert lab. This is the video number 24. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. I've been continuing working with securing our Windows 10 using the recommendations of the Department of Defense and the Defense Information System Agency of the United States. So we have stopped the last time at this part or this recommendation. We have now been working for 7 videos. This is the video number 8. This recommendation says administrative accounts must not be enumerated during elevation. What do I mean by elevation? If, for example, you are logged in with a standard user account and you need to run a program that should not, or it requires an administrative account to run, you can elevate or you can run this program under the username or under the account of the administrator. This is called elevation. Okay, the problem here that when you right click the program and tell him to run as different user, he should ask you for a username and the password. This is the normal process. Okay, but if you have the option of enumerating the administrative accounts or the enumeration of the local accounts of the machine, once you right click the program and then tell him to run as different user, you will see a list of users in front of you and you can choose one of them. So you can see, for example, account called administrator. You should click on it, then you are required only to put the password, not the username. This is very dangerous thing to do, because by this we are providing half of the information to the hacker. The hacker should know the username and the password, okay, but now he can know the username because it's already there on the system. Okay, so we should not enumerate administrator accounts during elevation, and actually we should disable elevation as a whole. We should not use an administrative account under a standard user account. If you need to run a program, then you should log off the standard user and then log in with your administrator account and then run the program. But you should not run the program under elevation or run the program under standard user using your administrative credentials. Okay, so we should here in this recommendation you should not enumerate the local accounts, especially the administrator accounts. So we should do this using a group policy. This can be done using a group policy, or we can do it from the registry key, or you can do it using the registry key, which is called, or this path. Go to this path and make a value or make a key, enumerate administrators and make it 0, I think, because the 0 means that it is disabled. Okay, so it's saying enumeration accounts can provide a part of the login information to an unauthorized user. This is the one I'm talking about. It will provide the username. The setting configures the system to always require users to type a username and the password. This is the normal thing to do. You should not provide, or the system should not provide the username for the user. He should type his username and password. So now we can go and check this setting from the registry to see if this option is activated or not. If it's not, we need to activate it from the group policy. So we can go to Credential User Interface from Windows Components and then to tell him to disable enumeration of administrative accounts or administrator accounts on elevation especially. And actually I said before, you should not elevate a program or elevate privileges on a standard user account. Okay, so we should take care of this. And actually we have disabled secondary login in previous videos, and we have disabled, so by disabled secondary login we have disabled the elevation or to elevate a program. Okay, using credential or administrative credentials, of course. So we need to disable enumerate administrator accounts on elevation. So we need to go to Credential User Interface and then enumerate administrative accounts on elevation. Okay, are displayed. Okay, so he's saying that whether administrator accounts are displayed when a user attempts to elevate a running program. Okay, by default administrator accounts are not displayed when the user attempts to elevate a running program. If you enable this policy, so anyway he said by default. Okay, so but we need to make sure we will disable, and then we go to something called if enhanced diagnostic data is enabled, it must be limited to minimum required to support Windows analysis. There is some features in Windows that may send the data when a problem is happened on the Windows. So for example, if there is a problem happened on the Windows, for example, concerning your printer, concerning your machine, maybe something concerning the hard disk, so concerning something related to the operating system, there is something called diagnostic data that should be sent to Microsoft to be able to help you to solve this problem or to prevent happening this problem in the future, in future Windows releases. So he's saying some features communicate with the vendor. This is the one I'm talking about, diagnostic data. So this data could potentially contain sensitive data, the operating system, the hard disk, the RAMs, or other data that may be considered to be sensitive, especially if you are working in a military environment. So we should we should make the telemetry data, or configure the telemetry data, which is in this means diagnostic data. Telemetry, it is data collected from your machine to solve problems concerning the Windows. It's sent to Microsoft to help further investigate your problems. Okay, so you should put the telemetry option or telemetry Microsoft option to be security or basic. These are two levels that will limit the data sent to Microsoft for diagnosing or for solving problems to be very basic. Okay, just only to send the needed data, not unneeded data or sensitive data. And you should do something called limited enhanced. This is something like a level to be so you will choose security or basic, okay, as the telemetry option, okay, to control which data to be sent to Microsoft. And you should enable something called limited enhanced level to provide information such as health data or devices. So we should configure the telemetry data sent to Microsoft to be in a certain level, this level security or basic or limited enhanced, to make the data sent to Microsoft very limited to only the problem, not to contain other data that should be considered sensitive. Okay, so also I think we can have a look on what is Windows telemetry. So let's say called Windows, okay, telemetry data. So let's see what he mean by Windows telemetry data. What is Microsoft telemetry data? Okay, it contains technical data on how the device and its related software is working. So this is data sent to Microsoft on how the device is working and how the related software on this device is working. Okay, it is periodically sent to Microsoft for future improvement of the system or enhance the user experience. So this is what we call telemetry, especially the user experience. This user experience may contain his favorite programs, his programs that he is currently using frequently or mostly all the time. So this should be considered sensitive data if it's in a military environment. So this will reveal how much or what software is being worked on military PCs. So this should contain sensitive data, and for large companies also. So this should be very watchable, and should be very limited data and not revealing anything sensitive. So let's go and configure this option. So you remember when I was configuring Windows, when in the welcome screen or when the out of the box experience options, I have disabled telemetry data. Okay, and I have configured the telemetry data to be of the level of security or basic. These are two levels that when telemetry data is working with security level or basic level, it will only send needed data, not any excessive data. So we will go and configure this option, or to limit the telemetry data to be sent to Microsoft. So first we need to go to the registry and see if this option is enabled or not. We all know that every group policy should have two ways to be implemented, or every setting should be implemented in two ways: directly by editing the registry, or by applying a group policy that will go and edit the registry. in both ways. So here we will go and configure the option of data collection and previewables, limit enhanced diagnostic data to minimum. Okay, so any data sent as a diagnostic data should be minimum by Microsoft Analyze to enable. Then we will enable Windows Analytical Collection to security. So this will enable the minimum diagnostic data to be sent, not excessive data or data reveal something sensitive. Okay, so let's configure this option. So we can go and configure the group policy. Then data collection and previewables, and then limit enhanced. Okay, this is not allowed elementary. Limit enhanced diagnostic data. So we'll tell him enable, and then enable Windows Analytical Collection, and then we won't need to select. Okay, so we'll select the Windows Analytical Collection. This is the option that we should use, and just wait for a moment and see if enhanced level is enabled for telemetry. This must be configured. So if enhanced, so if we have the option of enhanced, we have another group policy called telemetry, or turn off telemetry, or configuring telemetry. If the telemetry is configured to it's not off, if it's configured, so we have a group policy to disable the telemetry data as a whole, or to enable it but with certain levels, and these levels will send certain data to Microsoft. So if we have our telemetry enabled with enhanced level, we should configure this group policy that we are working on now. Okay, if it is configured to security or basic, the telemetry, this is not available. Let me show you all what I mean by this. So if we go and see the data, so here we can see this is another option to configure telemetry. This is the one if you are configuring telemetry, if this is the option of telemetry. If you configure it to full, or sorry, to enhanced, then you should configure the option that we were talking about. If it is security or basic, we don't need to configure this. He is saying Windows telemetry must not be configured to full. Here is saying that telemetry client setting basic sends basic diagnostic data, okay, and usage data, and may require to support some Microsoft server. Enhanced includes additional information on how Windows and apps are used and advanced reliability data. Windows Analytical can use a limited enhanced level to provide information as health data for devices. This requires the configuration of an additional setting available with so and so. So we configure the other policy. So these two policies are mainly focusing on Windows telemetry and controlling what data to be sent to Microsoft. And there is some levels for Windows telemetry. There is security, there is basic, there is enhanced. Basic will send basic data. Enhanced will send additional information concerning the Windows applications used and advanced reliability and other things. So let's continue working. So let's continue, guys. Here we need to configure the telemetry data to send as least data as possible. Okay, so these two group policies will ensure that the data sent for analytical or for diagnostic data should be sent to the minimum. Okay, so here we need to go and configure this group policy, and we should configure it to enhance. Okay, so now we have this configured, and then we need to go to other one to allow telemetry, and then make it not required to make it enhance. Okay, this you can use it as security if the group policy before it was not activated. Okay, security or basic. But if the group policy before this one is activated, you need to make it enhance. Okay, so he is saying that. Okay, so you can use two options for telemetry, one to limit diagnostic data and the other to make the telemetry as enhanced. Okay, So this is the one we have configured these two group policies to control the data sent to Microsoft. So I think maybe you are going to the registry again. Okay, WinVer, here we are just making sure that my build of or the version of this Windows is compatible with the group policy itself, because some or this group policy should be done to a certain versions of Windows. Okay, he is saying that you should use this for earlier version 1709 or before 1709. Here we can see that there is an option to get Windows updates from other PCs, okay, over the internet. Okay, so when you, there is two ways to update your PCs in your domain. One is to work with the WSOS, which is Windows Server Update Service. This is a server that is responsible for collecting data, or sorry, not collecting data, collect updates or communicate with Microsoft website and download all of the updates for all of your operating systems in the domain and push it to them. Okay, this is the WSOS, and this is the most widely used method. Okay, there is an option in Windows 10, if it doesn't find the WSOS or the WSOS is not available, it can get the updates from neighborhood PCs beside it in the domain or outside the domain. Okay, so we need to close this option. Okay, we need to close at least not to get these updates from PCs outside the domain. It can get updates from PCs inside the domain or from the WSOS. These two are the only allowed option. Okay, so we need to disable the Windows Update to get updates from other PCs on the internet. So let's see how we can configure this option. He's saying here that in addition, Microsoft, he's saying that you can update, get Windows updates from Microsoft, or you can get it from other PCs on your local network as well as the internet. This is a part of a Windows trusted process. However, to minimize outside exposure, obtaining updates from or sending to systems on the internet must be prevented on the internet. So you can get updates from neighborhood PCs on your local network. I prefer also to close this one. So the only source that the Windows can get its update is from the WSOS. Okay, so I think we can update or tweak this group policy a little bit. We can disable completely the Windows to get any updates, only to get updates from the WSOS. So we can configure this group policy. First of all, we need to check it from the registry if it is already enabled or not. This is a standard procedure that we are doing in all of these group policies. So we need to go and see if it is already there or not, and then it's delivery optimization, but it's not there, and then we need to choose an option. Okay, so these are the options. If you can go here, these are the options for downloading updates. You can get it no peering, that means that HTTP only. This means that it can get it, I think, from the internet. This is one. And peers on same net or on LAN, so you can get it from peers or your neighbor PCs. This is the one that we need to choose. I think maybe, or two, local network or private grouping peering, so we can choose one or two, I think. But as for this option, simple download mode, no peering, this is not recommended. I think it's out of the internet. Or bypass mode, delivery options not used, so you can disable this option as a whole. Okay, I think this is the most secure one. Okay, a value of 3 is internet finding. So if you find the only acceptable values are 1, 2, 99, 100 or 0, all of these are accepted. I think he's talking about that number 3, it is the one concerning the internet. We can see what each option refers to, but he's saying that there is an option called 3 which is internet. This is a finding. We will open the group policy and see the different options for each one of them, and you can see also the explanation about this one. So let's see what he's talking about. So we can go and choose. We can go to delivery optimization, download mode, enable. He can tell you to choose any option except internet. So there is an option for the internet. If you can go and delivery optimization and download mode, we need to choose to enable it and to choose any option except internet. So we need to check the acceptable selections or the acceptable options. We can see here that okay, we can see here that there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can choose 0 or 1 or 2 or 99 or 100. Okay, he's saying here that 0 HTTP only, no peering. I think this is related to maybe the WSOS, because this is internal. You know, the WSOS can work with HTTP or HTTPS. So I think this is referring to the WSOS. Okay, HTTP blended with peering behind the same net. I think this is another thing, but WSOS with a different parameter. HTTP blended with peering across private groups. Peering occurs on devices on the same Active Directory site or the same domain by default. When this option is selected, peering will cross nets to create a custom group. Anyway, I think maybe we can choose number 1 or number 2. Okay, 99 there is no peering, so he will get it from the WSOS. I think, okay, he's saying that we should not use the internet. We can choose the other ones, HTTP 0 or 1 or 2 or 99, or to disable this option completely. He's saying that no peering. Delivery optimization uses HTTP only and does not attempt to contact the delivery optimization cloud services. So I think this is the most secure one, not to use any other options except the HTTP, which here is referring to as the WSOS. Okay, the WSOS, it's working with HTTP protocol or HTTPS. So this is, I think, the most secure one, or 0. So we can use 99 or 0. I think these two, it's not working, and 3 also. So we can use 0 or 99. Anyway, so we'll configure it as, I think I will configure it as LAN. Here is saying LAN, he can get it for other PCs, but I prefer it to be 0. Okay, so I can prefer it to be 0, not LAN. Okay, so we can make it 0 or 99. So anyway, we'll continue working. So he is insisting on that any PC in the domain should not get its Windows update from PCs outside the domain on the internet, but he can get it from the WSOS or from PCs inside the domain. Anyway, I think it should be disabled completely, so we can make it as 0 or 99. I think this is the most suitable one, okay, or the best practice I see, because I do not want anyone to get updates from his from other PCs. Anyway, here we have something called Windows Defender Smart Screen for Explorer must be enabled. This is used within the Microsoft Edge to help you to protect your system from downloading miscellaneous or malicious softwares or programs. So here it is something like a mechanism of defense. Maybe it scans your downloaded files and see if there is any something suspicious, or scans the websites or see if there is any suspicious website, so it warns you from downloading anything for it. So he can see, protect system from programs downloaded from the internet that may be malicious. Enabling Windows Defender Smart Screen will warn or prevent users from running potential malicious programs. So this is for your sake, and it will work with the Microsoft Edge. I think this is basically will work with the Microsoft Edge browser. Okay, and I think also I saw it working with when you run some programs normally on the Windows. Okay, anyway, so it will work, I think, on Edge or on Windows. It works with both. Okay, I confirm this, or I have seen this working with both on Edge or on Microsoft Edge. Sorry, on Edge or on Windows, normal Windows. Okay, so here we can see that it's not enabled also from the registry, and then we need to enable this group policy. There is two ways to, or there are two group policies you can configure. One in the let's see here, one in the Windows Defender section, or another one in the File Explorer section. So we can configure it from two sections. One from a Windows Defender, this is concerning the antivirus, it has a complete section for it, or you can configure it from the File Explorer from the Windows itself. Okay, because this will work with the Windows. Okay, or it can work with the antivirus too. Anyway, so we will configure them if you configure one, the other one will be enabled automatically. So you can configure any one of them and the other will be configured. So we will configure this to enable smart screen or smart screen defender. So we will continue working. So we can go and configure this group policy, File Explorer, and we can go to something called one of the things here to configure. Yes, see, configure Windows Smart Defender. Okay, he's saying here that protect PC by warning user before potentially running malicious program downloads from the internet. Okay, so it will give you a dialog shown before running an app that has been downloaded from the internet and is unrecognized or unknown. Okay, so if he has a program that he doesn't recognize or doesn't know, maybe a signed program, so all of the programs or all known programs are signed from different or respectable companies or something. So all of the programs are recognized and signed by famous companies, and these are known by Windows. Okay, so if there is unrecognized program or unknown company and it has a program and you need to run it and the Windows Defender doesn't recognize it, it will block it or send you an it will warn you and prevent bypass, or it will only warn you. Okay, so it will warn you and prevent you from running the program, or it will warn you and leave the choice for you. So we will warn and prevent, we do not leave the choice for the user. Okay, so we will continue working. So this is one of the things to prevent users from running malicious programs downloaded from the internet. So this is a good option, and you can find it in other option. The same, you can find it in Windows Defender Smart Screen and then Explorer, and the same configure Windows Defender. So you can see the two options here, one from a section and one from the other section. Okay, Explorer data execution. So let's see the second one here. So here we have another option called Explorer data execution prevention must be enabled. This is a mechanism in Windows that provide additional protection, okay, by performing checks on memory, on the RAM or the memory of the PC, to help prevent malicious code from running. So this is a way, or this is a mechanism in Windows to prevent viruses from running from the memory. Okay, so this is very simple explanation of DEP or data execution prevention. Okay, this setting will prevent data execution prevention from being turned off for File Explorer. So we are enabling this option to help us prevent malicious viruses or codes from running from the memory. Okay, and this will be implemented on the File Explorer or the Windows Explorer. Okay, so this is also another thing. I think we can see what is data execution prevention. We can see a little explanation about it. So let's see. What is data execution prevention? So here we can see this is saying that a feature, security feature that monitors and protects certain pages or regions of the memory. So it is a feature to protect the memory, okay, to protect the RAM of the memory or random access memory. Okay, here we can see, we can go and see more details about this one. So here we can see that it is a system level memory protection. Okay, feature is built into the operating system. Okay, it was in XP, it was in 2003. Enables the system to mark one or more pages of the memory as non-executable This is the explanation. Prevents code from run from data pages as default. Anyway, so this is a way to protect the RAM, or so we are protecting the RAM, or the random access memory, for viruses to access it, or to run, or viruses to run from the memory. Okay, so let's say what is here. We can see another explanation. He's saying the same. It is a system level security feature included in Windows machines. The main purpose is to monitor processes and services to protect against malicious codes exploits by shutting down any program that does not run properly in memory. So he is monitoring the memory and monitor any program runs within the memory. If it is not running properly, it will shut it down, or if there is a malicious code running, it will prevent it from running on the RAM. Okay, so this is the basic thing about the data protection system. So I think maybe this is the least we can do about it, or this is the anything we can see about this option. So we will enable this option. This data execution prevention. So we'll prevent turning off this feature for the File Explorer. Okay, so we can go and see if this already enabled in the registry. If it's not there, we need to enable it using a group policy. So we can see the path and then enable it. The path is software Windows Explorer, and at the end we will open File Explorer and the group policy, and then tell him to disable turn off data execution prevention. So I think here we will go and File Explorer and then turn off data execution prevention. Here we will make it disable. Okay, we'll make it disabled, not configured, so you can leave it to not configured or disabled. So it's by default not configured, so you can leave it as it is or tell him to disable. Okay, so this is it, and then we can go and continue working with the recommendations. Now, turning off File Explorer heap termination on corruption must be disabled. Legacy plugin applications may continue to function when a File Explorer session has become corrupted. Disabling this feature will prevent this. So he's saying that some programs may be able to run built-in legacy or legacy plugin applications. Some type of applications may be able to run even though if the Explorer or Windows Explorer is corrupted or not working perfectly. So we will disable this feature, or we will disable these programs to run if the File Explorer is corrupted. Okay, so this is it. Okay, so we need to disable this option. Disabling this feature will prevent this. So it will disabling this feature will prevent programs from running when the File Explorer of Windows is not or it is not running correctly, or it is corrupted. Let's see what is File Explorer heap termination. Let's see this, or let's have a more explanation about it. File Explorer heap termination. Okay, what is File Explorer heap termination? So here turn off heap termination. Let's see what he's talking about here. Windows Club. Okay, it's saying that how to turn off heap. Okay, what is? No, I need to know what is it. Okay, just a moment. A certain legacy will be allowed to function. As soon as it's corrupted, it will be terminated. Okay, the policy a bit misleading, as heap is not getting terminated. It is the process that is terminating once it recognizes that the File Explorer has been corrupted. So enabling this policy turn off heap termination or corruption will stop File Explorer from terminating immediately when it gets corrupted. Okay, so this, I think this also doesn't explain much. What is heap termination or corruption? Disabling heap termination or corruption can allow certain programs to run when the Windows Explorer is not running correctly. Okay, so we need to, so it is basically, if the Windows Explorer is not working, okay, some programs, or it is corrupted, some programs may still be able to work, so we need to disable this kind of option. If the Windows Explorer is not working, the program should not work. This is, I think, the most thing we can do, or this is the most explanation we can get from the internet. So let's see this one. So we need to disable this kind of option. I think it is playing already. Let's see how much time we have left. Okay, it is 30 minutes. So we need to go and disable turn off heap termination on corruption. Okay, so he's saying this, and let's see also the description or the explanation of this policy. Okay, saying the same, all are saying the same explanation. Okay, so we will disable this, or okay, disable it, and then we continue work with our recommendations. Here say that File Explorer shell protocol must run in protected mode. So the shell protocol will limit the set of folders applications can open when run in protected mode. Restricting files an application can open to a limited set of folders increases the security of Windows. So here he is saying that programs should open certain folders. Okay, so there is applications, or there is some applications that when they need to run, they need to open certain folders. So he's saying that restricting files an application can open to a limited set of folders increase the security of Windows. So here he is restricting some applications to run certain files in certain folders in protected mode. Okay, so he's saying that File Explorer shell protocol must run in protected mode. So let's say, what is File Explorer? Let's have more info about File Explorer shell. Okay, let's File Explorer shell protocol. Okay, what is File Explorer shell protocol? Okay, description. No, this is the thing here. Let's see. File Explorer shell. Anyway, so I think there is no explanation for it, but here is saying that we can understand here that the File Explorer or the Windows File Explorer will not allow programs to run certain or will not allow applications to run certain files in certain folders unless they are in protected mode. This is what I can know from this. So let's see the explanation also from the group policy. Let's see if there is more we can know from the explanation of the group policy itself. So the shell protocol will limit set of folders applications can open when run in protected mode. So it is limiting some applications to access and run certain files from certain folders. Okay, so we need to go and see this group policy and see. Actually, it's not clear for me what he mean by this, but anyway, so we will see the explanation. Maybe we can know more. So here we can see that this So let's see here what he's talking about here. Okay, let's go first. It's not configured, so it's by default not configured, so we will not do anything actually. Here is saying that allow you to configure an amount of functionality that shell protocol. When using the full functionality of this protocol, applications can open folders and launch files. Okay, that's it. So if you are working with this protocol, if you not disable this protocol, so all programs can function and run files normally. The protected mode reduces the functionality of this protocol, allowing application to only open a limited set of folders. So if you are having an application can open, so if you have set up your application in a certain folder which contain files, the application can go to this folder and run the files from it completely. If you enable protected mode, you will limit the access of these applications to certain folders. Applications are not able to open files with this protocol when it is in protected mode. It is recommended to leave this protocol in the protected mode to increase security of Windows. If you enable this, it will fully enable allowing opening of files and folders. If you disable allow applications to open a limited set of folders. Anyway, I do not prefer to configure this kind of policy because we don't know actually what it will do, and it actually can be left to not configured. So this is as the recommendation of the PDF say, so you can leave it as it is, do not disable it. Okay, so we will leave it to not configured or disabled. User must not be allowed to ignore Windows Defender. So here we can see that we have the configured Windows Defender smart screen filter before. This is the one to warn the user if there is a malicious program downloaded from the internet. Okay, so he will give you a warning. Okay, so here we are saying that we will configure a group policy that the user could not ignore this, so the user can ignore this warning. Okay, so no, we will not leave the user to ignore it. Okay, so the user, the warning will appear and he cannot ignore the warning or close it. Okay, close it, I mean unless he doesn't open the program. I think he is saying here that he cannot ignore the warning, he cannot close the warning. The warning will appear for him. Okay, he cannot close it or he cannot bypass it. So we will see that he is saying that if users are allowed to ignore warnings from the Windows Defender filter, they could still access malicious websites. I think here this is a smart screen filter. I think this is related. The other one was not smart screen filter. This was for the downloads, but this one is for malicious websites. The other one was for downloaded programs. Okay, so this is for websites. Here this is another thing to have a warning if the Windows Defender find a malicious website. Okay, so this also should be configured with phishing filter. So if he find a website that it is not or it's acting weird, so he will issue a warning, and this warning should not be ignored by the user. He cannot ignore it or he cannot pass it. Okay, so let's go and see if it is already enabled. Let's see, it's already enabled. I think it is not enabled. Prevent override. Okay, it's not there. So let's configure this group policy. Microsoft Windows Defender Smart Microsoft Edge. So this is the one related to the Edge. The other one is related to the Windows. Okay, Windows Defender Smart Screen, the one for the downloaded programs from the internet, and the one this is for the websites. Okay, so we will go and configure it. Actually, this is also done by the firewall. If you have a firewall and you have advanced features on it, it can also do the same thing to filter and scan the websites for any malicious activity. Okay, so you can go and configure this from the Microsoft Edge, but actually here I don't have the Edge. Okay, so I need to add the group policy for the Edge because it's not there. I have it already, or we can configure it not from the Edge, from another way. So we can make it from the Smart Screen Defender here, from this one. We can tell him here. Okay, so we have here two things. Okay, we have two policies in the Smart Screen. One to configure Windows Defender Smart Screen, this to prevent download of malicious programs from the internet, and the one is to prompt it for, or to disable, or to ignore, or to prevent users from accessing malicious websites. These are the two that you have configured until now. Okay, one with the Windows Explorer and the other is with the Microsoft Edge. Okay, okay, so that's it. We will enable it, and then we can continue. User must not ignore Windows Defender warnings for unverified files in Edge. So I think we have to configure this before. Okay, allow to ignore warning. So here the user should not ignore the warnings, and it will also prevent him from downloading the file. So he will have a warning, he cannot pass the warning, and he will also be prevented from downloading the file. Okay, so these are two things. Okay, so let's see this option where we can configure it. So we have already done this one, I think. Okay, we have here prevent bypassing smart file prompts file to files, but this is from Microsoft Edge. Okay, so we need to have the Microsoft Edge. So Microsoft Edge is not there, or we can get it from the Windows Defender Microsoft Edge bypassing this one. So we have configured it already. I think this is our duplicate policies. Okay, here must configure to prevent certificate errors overrides in Edge. So I will tell you something here. Web security certificates provide an indicator whether a site is legitimate. The policy setting prevents the user from ignoring secure socket certificate errors that interrupt browsing. Sometimes there is a website. To know if it is already secure and it is already verified or trusted, it should have a certification. Okay, so if this certification is not verified by the browser, it is legitimate and it is secure, it will issue a warning telling the user not to go to this website. Okay, and actually we need to block him from accessing this website. So here is stating that we need to configure a group policy to prevent the user from overriding this kind of warnings. Okay, so if there is something, if you go to a website and it doesn't have a valid certification, it will issue a warning. Okay, and it will tell you to leave this website or not to go to website, or to continue working or to go to this website. So we need to prevent the user from doing this. We need to tell him to block, not to give the user the option to continue working with the website. So here is saying that the setting prevents the user from ignoring the certification errors that interrupt browsing. Okay, so he will not be able to prevent or to bypass this warning, but I think maybe he can continue working with the website even though if it doesn't have a valid certification. So let's see what the group policy says about it. So let's go and continue. So he's saying that this is applicable with Windows versions starting from 1809. Okay, if you have Windows 10 from earlier versions, this will not work. Okay, or it is not recommended, or it's not available. Okay, so you can go and tell him Microsoft Edge. So we need to configure the group policy of Edge. Here we can see that I don't have the Edge here, so I need to go and add the Edge group policy template. I have it already downloaded before from previous labs, so I will add it now, so we can get to configure the Microsoft Edge. Here we can see that it's not there, so we need to go to the group policy templates of the Edge and add it. Okay, and here is another thing, is to disable saving of passwords to the Microsoft Edge. Okay, so the user should not be allowed to save passwords to browsers because they are not secure, and the passwords are saved and they are not encrypted, so they are vulnerable to attacks and to be theft or to be stolen. Okay, we should use specialized programs for saving passwords and encrypt them, something like Credential Guard or other software. Here we will add the Microsoft Edge templates. I have it already in a place here. I have, so I will show you. Only go to the D, and then I have, okay, we can pass this real quickly anyway. So I have it from another lab. Okay, COVID-19, this I have it already. I have the template for here, group policy templates, and then I have the Edge template, so we will add it. Here is the Edge template, so let's go here and we will go to the Windows and then ADM, not ADMX. Okay, so this is not it. We need to have the ADML file, not the ADMX. So we'll go and add the ADM and then the English folder, and then this one. This is the group policy, and then tell him close. Then we will open the Windows components. We will see Microsoft Edge group policy appearing. So let's wait for some seconds. Here we will open Windows components or classic administrative templates. Then this is Edge. Okay, then we need to configure password manager. Here first we need to tell him not to enable password saving on the browser. Here we have enable saving password to password manager. This should be disabled. Here it's already disabled, by the way. And here we can see that there is a lot of things to be configured here. Configure Microsoft Defender Smart Screen. It is already there. Preventing Microsoft Defender Smart Screen. It's already there. Configure Defender to block potential miscellaneous software. Anyway, so we have a couple of group policies configured. All of them are related to the Microsoft Edge. So here you have all of things here configured, and actually this was configured in another place in the Microsoft Defender. So this is our duplicate group policies. Now we need to, here we say to configure password manager. It's not there, it's not configure password manager, it is enable saving passwords to password manager. This is the one. So because it's in a different format, so we can go there. Here we can go to disable. This is the one. It is already disabled. This one. Okay, this is the one. It is already disabled. It's not configure to save password. It's here to enable saving password to password manager. This is in different format or in different phrase. So let's continue working again. Here Windows Mars. Okay, it's already enabled. Defender. It's already there. We have already enabled it before. We can go. We have Windows Defender already enabled before, so it's enabled in Windows and enabled in Edge. Okay, so we can see it's already enabled. Okay, so we don't need to enable it again. Okay, we have talking about smart screensaver or the smart screen, sorry, so it's already enabled. Here there is another option, okay, called Windows game recording and broadcast. This is an option in Windows. You can record games basically on the Xbox, so you can use a software that it is installed in the Windows by default. This program can record games and publish it to the internet, but it's also can be used to record any other thing, not only Xbox. You can record other things, so it's basically a free software, or it's a built-in Windows software to record. So he's saying that we should disable this for the users in our domain, so no one can record thing and it may expose sensitive data. So here what we're doing here, Windows game recording and broadcast is intended for use with games. Okay, however, it could potentially record screenshots of other applications. Here what I'm talking about, it could record games and record other data or other programs than games, so and expose sensitive data. Disabling this feature will prevent this from occurring, so we need to disable this feature. Okay, So we will tell him enable or disable Windows game recording and broadcast. This should be disabled, and it's basically for Xbox. Okay, so you can work or play games of Xbox on your Windows laptop or Windows PC. Okay, so we need to make sure that that we cannot record or use Windows gaming record on our Windows operating system, especially if you are in a domain. Okay, you should disable games by as a whole, not even to disable the recording. Okay, so we need to see also if this is enabled from the registry, and it's not already there, so we can check. Okay, but it's not there, I know. So we can check the path and see if we have game DVR. It's not there. So we need to go to the group policy and enable it, or disable Windows recording. So we can go to Windows components, and then I think we'll go to, I don't see it from here anyway. So I think this version of Windows, the Windows 10 LTSC Enterprise, doesn't have this program. Okay, it's called Windows recording, gaming recording and broadcast. I don't have this in this Windows. The use of a hardware security device with Windows Hello for business must be enabled. Okay, the use of a trusted platform. This is a chip. We have talked about it earlier. This is a chip. It is in the motherboard. Its main function is to save encryption keys in it, so you can encrypt anything. You can encrypt users and passwords, and you can encrypt data, and these encryption keys are saved to your trusted platform or this chip on the motherboard. So he's saying that Windows Hello for Business provides additional security. Keys stored in TPA may only be used on that system, while keys stored using software are more susceptible to compromise and could be used on other systems. Anyway, so let's see what is Windows Hello. Windows Hello for Business. Let's see what is Windows Hello for Business. So we can go and tell him what is Windows Hello for Business. I think this is mutual authentication software. What are the benefits of Windows Hello? What is Windows Hello and why do I need it? It's a more personal, more secure way to get instant access to your Windows device using a PIN, facial recognition or fingerprint. So this is a mechanism that will help you to authenticate your domain, not using a username or password, but use a PIN number, or using your facial recognition or a fingerprint. Okay, so here is saying that, or this group policy will allow you to save your password and username and encrypt them and put them to the TPM chip. I think this is the thing that you are talking about here. So he's saying that if you use Windows Hello for Business and you are using a password and the username, I think they will encrypt it and put it to the TPM using, if you are using Windows Hello and you're using a PIN or a username or a password, it will be encrypted and the encryption key will be saved to the trusted platform chip. Okay, so I think we can go further. So it's saying hello. I think here I have already done this. I go and check for, so Windows Hello for Business. Okay, saying here that replaces password with strong to here Hello for Business. In Windows 10, Windows Hello for Business replaces password with strong two-factor authentication on PCs and on mobile devices. So we know two-factor. Two-factor means that when you access your PC, it will send you if you need to access your PC, it will send you a mobile message with a key you need to provide, so you can access your so you can provide a username and the password, and you can also provide a key. Okay, so we have two-factor. Sorry guys, if you need to access your PC, what it will do, it will send you a message with a key or with a password you need to insert in the field of password so you can access. So this is tied to device using a biometric or PIN. So anyway, So we need to save the pins or save the key, save the passwords and encrypt them and put them to the TPM chip. Okay, so we can do this. Now we go and enable hardware security. Okay, this way use a hardware security device. So this is the one. He's saying that Hello for Business provide additional keys security. So the keys are stored to the TPM and they are actually encrypted, I think. Anyway, Windows 10 must be configured to require a minimum pin length of 6 characters or more. So you can access the Windows using a pin, I think it's numbers or something, not a username or password. So you do not provide username and password, but a pin it's something like numbers but more complicated, I think. Anyway, let's see also, I need to know what is a Windows pin. What is Windows pin? P-I-N. Set of numbers or combination of letters and numbers that choose yourself. So instead of providing a password, you will provide a username and a password. You will provide a pin. This pin consists of numbers or letters and numbers. Okay, and it should be of minimum. So we need to require a minimum. So this pin should be 6 characters or greater. So if you will not use a username and a password, you will use a pin. This pin could be numbers or letters and numbers. This mechanism or this pin should be at least to be 6 characters or greater. So we need to configure this group policy to specify the minimum pin length. Okay, and the more, of course, the better. So if you have a minimum of password length of 6, it is good, and you need to be more if you need, but at least to be 6 characters. The more the pin length, the more difficult the hacker could compromise the pin or could hack the pin. So here we need to configure the pin complexity, okay, to be 6 characters or greater. So let's see if we can do this. We can go further and I think it's from the Windows maybe system, yes, and then let's see where we can get it from. You can get it from pin complexity, yes, and then we have minimum pin length to be 6 characters or greater. Okay, to be 6 characters or greater. So this is it. Now we can work or continue. Okay, this is 6 characters minimum requirement. Okay, so it should not be compromised. Okay, sending a password to a network or website where it could be compromised. So okay, we can go. The password must not be saved to remote desktop client. So there is an option that you can save if you are using remote desktop connection program to connect to a client or to a remote PC. You can have the option to save, for example, if you need to access a PC remotely using the remote desktop connection program, you can tell the remote desktop connection program to save the username and password they are using to connect remotely to the PC. This should be disabled. You should not have the option to save password to remote desktop clients, because saving password in the remote desktop client would allow an authorized user to establish a remote connection session to another system. This system must not be configured to prevent users from saving password in the remote desktop client. So this is very, very important. So you don't need the remote desktop connection program to save usernames and passwords used to connect remotely to machines. Okay, so we need to do this. We need to go to the remote. First of all, we need to check it from the registry. Here it's not there. So we need to tell him to remote desktop services. I think this is not it. We need to go and configure remote. We go to the group policy, remote desktop services, remote desktop connection client. So this is it, the remote desktop connection client. So we need to go and configure it. go further. Remote, let's see here, remote desktop services, remote desktop connection client, and then we need to configure I think it's not here, let's see which is remote desktop, yes, desktop connection client, and here do not allow passwords to be saved. This is the one, okay, do not allow passwords to be saved. We can go further, do not allow passwords to be saved, okay, this is it. And then we can continue. Local drives must be prevented from sharing with remote desktop session host. So you have an option when you use a remote desktop connection program to connect to a remote PC, you can make your local drives available to be accessed from this remote PC. Okay, so you can open the remote PC of the user and you will see that your local drives are available or it is shared for you, so you can access remotely a PC, and if you need to get something from your local PC to this remote PC, the program of remote desktop connection will make this available for you by mapping your local drives to the remote PC. We need to prevent this, okay, so this will reduce possible exposure of sensitive data. So we need to do this actually. Local drives must be prevented from sharing with remote desktop session host. We can also check this from the registry, and this will help us to reduce possible exposure of sensitive data. If you need to take something from your local PC to the remote PC, you can do it another way, not through sharing your local PC, maybe by copying it to the PC and work from it remotely, but not to share your local drive. Okay, so we'll go to I think remote host session, and then we go to maybe device and resource direction. Yes, device and resource direction, and then we tell him not to do not allow drive redirection. This is the option that we need to configure. So do not share your local drives to your remote desktop or remote PC. So this is it. Now we can continue. Desktop services must always prompt a client for a username for passwords upon connection. Okay, here is saying that the setting controls the ability of users to supply password automatically as a part of their remote desktop connection. Disabling this setting would allow anyone to use the stored credentials in a connection item to connect to the terminal server. So here he's disabling the saving of the password. Okay, so I think this is also, we have done this before, but it's also saying that it will not allow the user to save the password automatically to the remote desktop connection program. I think this is the one. So we need to also disable this kind of option, not to let the user to use stored credentials on the remote desktop connection program. So we need to go and check this also from the registry, and if it's not there, we need to enable the setting always prompt for password. Okay, so it's always there. It will not provide the password automatically. You should provide it manually. So you can go to security, always prompt for a password upon connection. He's saying you can use setting to enforce a password prompt for users logging into remote desktop services, even if they already provided the password in the remote desktop connection client. I don't seem to understand anyway, but it's basically not to leave your password to be saved to the remote desktop connection program. Here the remote desktop session host must require secure RPC communication. So this is related to the remote desktop connection. So if you are using the remote desktop connection program to connect remotely to PC, this connection should be secured. So you should use, I think it's secured using a protocol. So you require secure remote procedure call communication. Allowing unsecure RPC communication exposes the system to man-in-the-middle attack and data disclosure attacks. Man-in-the-middle attacks occur when an intruder captures data between a client and the server and modifies them before allowing the packet to be exchanged. Usually the attacker will modify the information in the packets in an attempt to cause either the client or server to reveal sensitive data. Anyway, so he is telling us that the remote desktop session host should require secure RPC communication. I think this is related to a protocol. It should use a secure protocol for connection or for remote connections. So let's see also the description of this group policy. So here we can see, or require secure RPC communication. So it is basically to secure the connection or the remote connection. We don't know how this will be done, but we can here see, or we can read. Specify requires secure. You can use setting to strengthen the security of RPC communication with clients by allowing only authenticated and encrypted requests. So by allowing this option, only authenticated users that have a valid username and the password on the domain, and they can access the or they are allowed to connect remotely to PCs. These are two conditions. They are authenticated and they are allowed to access remotely to PCs, and the data will be encrypted. So this is the main function, is to enable authenticated users to remotely access PCs and to encrypt the communication between them, between the client and the host. Okay, so this is it. Then he said that another thing is server must configure client connection encryption to set to the required level. So he's saying that you need to encrypt the connection between the client and the host and the client, or between the client and the host. So this is we are setting the encryption level to be a high level. So here he's encrypting the connection or the remote desktop connection to be high level. Okay, so this is also something related to remote desktop connections encryption. Then attachment must be prevented from being downloaded from RSS feeds. This is a kind of websites. It's an old way for accessing data, but let me show you what is an RSS, or let's have something called, what is something like a website, and it's not secure. You can download things for it, but let's see what is RSS feeds. RSS feeds is a web feed that allow users and application to access updates to a website in a standardized computer readable format. RSS is a web feed that allow users and application to access updates to websites in a standardized computer readable format. Anyway, this is a way for accessing a file. This file contains summary of updates for a website. Okay, an RSS feed is a file that contains summary of updates from a website. Okay, so it's an old way. It's a way to access data, for way to access data, but it is not secure, and we need to prevent downloading of attachments or from data from RSS feeds. So we need to prevent this kind of things. So by the way, for example, when I was working with Outlook, there was some RSS feeds, or when I having my email set up on Outlook, I was subscribed to some RSS feeds that sent to me regular emails or regular updates about certain issues. For example, something like Microsoft latest updates or something. So this is like a service, okay, but it's not secure, and it's not a good way to work with data, okay, or to have data. Prevent downloading of enclosures to RSS feed. So this is an old way to work with data. We need to disable this kind of data, or RSS feeds. So RSS feeds, here we can go, this is up RSS feeds, here you go, and then we need to disable or prevent downloading of disclosures. Okay, so basic authentication for RSS feeds over HTTP must not be used. If you are using this kind of feeds, okay, we need to make it as HTTP, but we will stop here at this recommendation, and we will continue working in video number 9, and we will close everything. Hope this video is informative of you all. I'd like to thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.